So I am turning on recording. Okay, so meeting is enabled, and we'll see if get more people. It's just 401, so hopefully people are doing all right. Haven't tried using Teams for the whole classroom thing yet, so this is nice to try this out. Feel free to use the chat or the emoticon thing. You can click things, like raising your hand, and it will show up. Doesn't show up for me all the time, though. Only the hand works. That's weird. Ah, okay. All right. Okay, hello. And at the moment, we've only got 2 people. So either if you have a question, you can ask away. I'm going to at least do a little overview of the exam as I understand it, as we know it right now. And we'll have this recording for people. If people will chime in or join anytime soon, then they can ask questions. Otherwise, we'll just deal with the questions on Piazza asynchronously, which I guess is the way we've done most things in this course, asynchronously. But the TAs have, I think, been answering people's questions quite well. Looks like on Piazza, most questions are like programming based or system based, so trying to get the assignments running. So people are working away on assignment 3, which is great. And we did extend the deadline or treat it as if you hand it in by Monday, there won't be any penalties, whichever way you want to look at it. If you're done or you want to stop doing it and it's mostly done, you can hand it in today and you'll get a 3% bonus on it for doing it on the original deadline. So you can get it off your plate and study. If you need a bit more time, then there won't be any penalties until after Monday handing in. But I understand if people want to switch to exam thinking. So in terms of exams, I did put up more details about the exam there. It's kind of similar to what we said for the midterm, that just going to be conceptual questions, some with like true and false and multiple choice. Probably won't have short answer things on this one where you type in a big description, which will make it more automatically graded. They can be theory or calculation questions, but that'll be like matching like a formula and seeing that's the correct, say, correct Bellman description for a given MDP, or an algorithm pseudocode that might have some problem in it, and then highlighting what's wrong or choosing the answer from some multiple choices, or typing in an answer that correctly fills in a blank that we're giving. So maybe the correct form of the advantage function for the particular algorithm we're describing. And covering these kind of core concepts really from the course that, it's all about the MDP definitions, returns and rewards. As we start talking about policy gradients, we start talking about advantage functions, so the contrast between two different kind of versions of the value function, and things like that. So yeah, I'm going to try and keep it simpler than I had it in the previous year, so we're not going to try and go into every level of depth on it, because I know everybody's got lots of things. It's been a hard term for everybody, so I'm not going to try and make it the hardest exam ever. And then topics, I just listed all the main topics, but as I said in here, that's leaning more towards the later topics. So in this course, everything builds right on top. You can't really ignore what came before. You can't forget how MDPs work or what a Bellman equation is, just because you're focusing on something later in the course, because they all use the previous concepts. But there's not going to be kind of detailed trade-off and concept questions on these things that were on the midterm, except as they're being used to compare to the later algorithms, right? So they still should know how SARSA and Q-learning work, but you can be comparing it to policy gradients and things like that. So the value function approximation methods in the policy gradients, and then this kind of end step forward view approach. So we've got these slide decks that are really only slides that related to the content from after the midterm. So I'll kind of load those up and look at them briefly. And then just list all the algorithms again that we kind of talked about. And I guess the midterm we went up to, oh, didn't mean to edit that. That's annoying. I can't even click on it to select. Here we were. Can I do that? No, I can't select. Really, the midterm went up to here to SARSA and double Q learning, I guess. And so it's really the algorithms after that that are the second half, even though that kind of rolls a lot of stuff in, because reinforce just an example of policy gradient, and I guess I should have actor critic in there as well. That's kind of implied here. I'll update that. And that's the kind of topics. So that is up there now. Hopefully everybody can see this. I was going to check my visibility settings. And as we said in the announcement, it's going to be like your slot on the calendar was at August 14th. So you definitely can do it that Saturday morning as scheduled for you. That's the last day essentially of the exam, but you could even start it, do it sometime earlier than that. To Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. And once you start on Mobius, then you'll have a 3-hour window to complete it. And we have some things. Great questions. Okay. So yeah, I didn't do any lectures on PPO, so I'd love to ask about that and talk about it, but I know people are using it in their assignment, but I didn't go into the theory on any of it, so there won't be any questions on it. And then TV Lambda, yeah, if we go to the other notes, we have the course Ginkgo list, right? This list of links that I kind of been pointing people to, kind of for more dynamic links to related reading on the different topics. And apologies for it being a bit of a mess. I know it's just the way I do things. Yeah, these are not really covered in detail, so they won't be on the exam, unfortunately, but you definitely should know about them. I mentioned them in the last lecture. And in fact, even these, because I didn't post the lectures for that. Maybe they're on the YouTube channel, so there are lectures about that, but we didn't have it slotted in and used. So that's the thing that won't be testable anyways. As for TD lambda, I'd almost want to poll the class about that, because when I said here, I've said sometimes saying that eligibility traces were not going to be covered, but I was hoping people would watch, and looking at the YouTube videos, seems like a lot of people did watch the n-step TD lambda thing, so I would want to be able to talk about that, but on this kind of set of eligibility traces, where does it start? Being the way to implement it is kind of an additional complexity that we just kind of stopped at. So kind of from here onwards, we said we weren't doing eligibility traces, so that would not be on it. My idea is that people would watch and look at things up till here, because this idea of there's a range of TD values that you can kind of go from a single step back to many steps back is kind of this spectrum of ways to use the temporal difference to do learning. There may not be a sample exam. I don't know if we're going to have all the questions kind of ready in time for that. So yeah, I'm not promising any sample exam yet. Yeah, and TD lambda is not that complicated, really. It's really just this idea that when you're taking the difference between one point to the next, that you can actually go back more than just one step. You could go multiple steps back and use the differences from more than one step. But actually implementing it becomes like there's various ways to do it. And as I said, in deep learning, it's in a way not as necessary, because now the network is going to handle those kind of issues. What else did we have? Definitely the policy gradient stuff. Oh, right, value function approximation. So let me see, I don't know this chat here. Okay, great question from Yusuf. So since A to C, right, this is the deep learning actor critic algorithm, since it can be approximated with a TD error, what's the difference between TD, actor, critic, and A to C? I see A to C as an implementation of TD, actor, critic with neural networks, right, as a way to do it. I guess it has some variation, but actor critic is a broader concept of like, how do you implement a policy gradient approach? Do we have actor in this? Yeah. right? So when you have a policy gradient approach and you have this baseline that you kind of use to adjust what the update is when you change it, in actor critic approach, you're using this difference between the two things you're tracking. So you can have something where you're explicitly representing the policy and explicitly representing the value function, and you're using those together to adjust the search. And ATC is just a way of doing that. Where's my slide on it? Sorry. Maybe that was the other one. Oh, I don't have that one open. So the question is advantage actor critic a subset of TD actor critic? I would say it's a way of implementing it. So there's different ways you could implement it. And right, okay, so I am missing one of the lectures. And it's just another way to do that, yeah. I cannot find my slides on it. Sorry about that. Sure. Yeah, just have to find that. Oh, no. So yeah, I see just what implementing it. Sorry. Great. Yeah, we'll try to make the final about the same length as the midterm. I guess that was a good length for people. There could be things in the final where you enter text in, but there'll be kind of concrete things where it's entering in a value, so we can evaluate it, either entering in a number or the letter, like the description of the variable or whatever we're adding. But multiple choice is often better because then we know for sure which is the right answer, and we can add variations so that people see different random results. We're working on those questions, making them, so that's the plan. Yeah, sorry about the midterm feedback. There's some bug way with the way that Mobius works, and getting it to release all the feedback has been a problem because of that problem we had in question 12. I have to go check back and see if it was resolved, that we could find a way to make it visible to you. Like, it caused a bug in the midterm that I can't even process it properly, so we might have to just manually go and see people's answers and copy them out. But yeah, it'd be great to have the feedback, obviously. I'm just going to turn off the camera here. Need that space. So what else did I see if I missed any questions? There we go, I found it. That was hard to find. But yeah, for that A2C question, literally, this algorithm is implementing that construct, just kind of concretely having, how do you represent each of the two components that you're having as actor and critic? Because in some implementations, it's really just a conceptual thing, and they put in penalties to represent the critic, depending how you represent things. But when it's a neural network, you literally have to have a network with weights and define it. Because these other parts about the things they did differently than the DQN algorithm aren't specific to actor critic. They are just specific to the way that you implement it with training for neural networks. So. Okay. Other questions or concerns? Right. Yeah, because I said that we'd have those topics, but I never released any content for it, so I'm not going to test you on PPO and DDPG. It was a aspirational thing, but we don't have. I didn't have new slides or content on that, and didn't get around to doing it with all the other things happening. So yeah, it's a stretch topic for people, but it won't be testable. Correct. Yeah. Yeah. The DQ and ATC are the last slides. Yeah, even the MSCTS thing, I didn't add it in as a listed topic, but there are, I think, some lectures on there from last year for that, so you guys can watch them. But we won't be testing on them because we weren't explicitly saying watch them this week, right? Wouldn't be fair otherwise. Yeah. Oh, there is updated links for this. So for A2C, there's links. If you go to the Ginkgo thing, there were links for that. So I'll update that. That's all in the playlist. So the last playlist that was added for RL is the one there for deep RL. So. Hopefully that works. Okay. All right, so next question. Yeah, so the end steps, it's awkward because I don't know how people heard what I said about eligibility traces being put. Definitely eligibility traces in that part are not covered. For end step TD, it's supposed to be covered because the content was there to review. But I never gave the exact slides for that. So, I didn't say anything here either. I would focus on the other topics first, and let me just try to figure out if what we said. I think the end step TD learning would I'd want to have that on there. So. Okay. Other questions? So I think that's all the essentials of it with the exam spout, and people had their specific questions. So if you have additional ones, take a look at the page here. It has all the detailed information. And as always, you can ask up on Piazza, and we'll get back to you and figure out to make sure everything's clear. And maybe I'll go in and edit these to make it a bit more explicit on the algorithms. Yeah, and everybody, good luck on all your final assignment submissions and exams. And hope you had fun on the course in some way. And if people want to talk about RL and other uses of these things going on in the future, going beyond this course, I'm always happy to talk about it, especially more in the fall, because there's lots more than this. We really just scratch the surface, and it's a very interesting field. Okay, thanks everyone for coming, and I'm going to stop recording now.